everybody. Feel most welcome to our Consciousness Study Group, which is basically our Thursday study reading group. What we do book reading, and the book we read is Consciousness. Consciousness is a book written by Kwame Nkrumah. In fact, it is a Pan-African philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa, with three clear purposes: the African liberation, Africa unification, and Africa development. For a period of time, we've been reading this book paragraph per paragraph for the last 2 years, and we finished chapter 1. We are now in chapter 2, every Thursday without a miss. And what we do is, because these are philosophical books, not a storybook or normal books, we take time to read it, and then we ask members to share their thinking. I know some members joined us before, and I will also request more members to keep reading it slowly again so that you can digest the reading and you can be able to form your thinking. So permit me to reread the paragraph again, after which I'll ask the more members who are here early enough to start by sharing their thinking and maybe introduce themselves, because also we have new members like Chosa, Ayombe, and Gengezi. So let me reread this. In the previous paragraph...
Brother Pigeon,
yes.
Can I ask you, can we check a few words before you reread it? Because yeah, I'm sure we should... we should know...
Insider?
Yes.
Can I reread it and then you raise the few words so that we can... Because the application I'm using is able to get directly to Google and put the side screen for the definitions.
Well, I was thinking if you did the words, then when you read it, we might understand it definitely a bit better.
So can you raise the words you feel that we should be doing a search on?
Okay, I think that we should know what egalitarianism means, but I would like it to be checked to see if it's what I think it is.
It is not the first time we're doing this, but
yes, I know. That's why I wanted to recheck it, because I'm not sure what I think in my mind is necessary. So,
Sister Myra, are you able to share the definition of egalitarianism?
I would need to reset my computer to check the meaning.
Okay. If we can't do it now, don't worry. I just wanted to. It's there twice.
Basically, egalitarian is a society where everybody is equal.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
But that's only part of it. If any member here will wish to give more definition of egalitarianism, feel free to unmute yourself and share your definition.
Brother Pigeon, I think you're correct. There's no difference between gender or race or anything. Everyone in that society seems to be equal. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
This word we came across it sometimes back when we were discussing the principle of social justice and equality in society.
Yes, I know, and I think we'll keep coming across it, but I just wanted to make sure I knew what it meant in my head before you reread it. Sorry. Thank you.
That's okay. But permit me to go back to just refresh where the first egalitarianism aspect came in, and it is in this paragraph here. When we're discussing the rule of law, the rule of thumb, and the general rule. And this paragraph highlighted here. Yeah. So the paragraph, if I read it, says that was Anaxagoras' thought vis-a-vis the Thales or Thales thought. So it says that it was the idea of unity of nature as well as that of basic equality and justice, which required that Thales should generalize those rules of thumb picked up in the marshes of the Nile Delta. Rule of thumb allow for a certain measure of arbitrariness and partiality in application. So in the rule of thumb, there's partiality in application, and there's some measures of arbitrariness. Therefore, it is no equality or fairness or justice enough. The rules which the Egyptian apedonapes used in marking out farms were bound to lead to injustice. Remember that aspect sometimes back?
Now I remember. Yep.
Yes. Now, Thales' egalitarianism perspectives or perceptions necessarily for a mercantile economy led him to seek general forms of rule. Now, when rules become general, they guarantee an objective impartiality. And an impartiality is the outward mark of egalitarianism. Impartiality. So this is an impartial society.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was clear in my head what it meant.
Okay, thank you. So let me go back to the reading for today. And I will reread it again now as I ask no members to share their thinking. I'll start by the new members who have been here for some time. No, some are dropping. We had Chosa, then we had Dr. Ayombe Sibul, then Gigezi Gilana. Let me reread the paragraph again. Anaxagoras 2 can be exhibited as supporting an egalitarianism. Indeed, his theory of the unity of nature is in certain respects a more rigorous and close one than that of monists. He did not affirm a mere identity of basic make. He put forward a theory of the participation of any one kind of object in every other kind of object. In his philosophy, nature was more firmly united than in any other philosophy. The distinction between his view and that of the monist, if given social expression, became the distinction between socialism and democracy. Whereas in democracy, it is sufficient to affirm a mere egalitarianism. In socialism, it is necessary to affirm a convertible involvement of each in all. In other words, whereas the monists in social terms sought to transform an oligarchic society into a democratic one, Anaxagoras sought to transform a democratic one into a socialist society. That's the reading. Let me start by Comrade Chosa. Sister or brother, kindly unmute yourself. I know you're joining us via call or whatever. I think so. Kindly unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and maybe share your thoughts with us. If you are not ready to share your thinking, you'll always say pass, so that other members can also share their thinking. How do you understand this? What's your thinking here? What's your understanding, and how can you apply it? Welcome, comrade.
Hello, hello. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Welcome.
Yeah, I cannot comment now because I'm starting to understand what exactly we are doing. So I think I'll be able to comment in the next chapters to come. But for now, let me understand what is going on and what we are reading.
Okay, thank you. Can you introduce yourself? I think it's the first time you're joining us.
Sorry?
Kindly introduce yourself. I think it's the first time you're joining us, unless you join with another line.
Oh, okay. My name is Colin Chosa. I'm from Anders Concept. I spoke about it last time when I first joined the meeting. Yeah, I think for now that's all.
Okay, thank you. Feel most of Dr. Hayombe?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Peter Hayombe. I'm a public health consultant, and I'm in the group of Anders with Divine, where we are trying to look for very many areas where we as Africans, we have gone back. We have adopted things that were not necessarily ours, and we have made some to be so much our things until those who do what are African things, we see them in different lights. We look at them downwards, we see them as backward and all that. So I think I understand one nice paragraph here, which is related to what I am grounded in. And that's what I'm going to explain more. It's the one that talks of the fact that try to define nature to be very interrelated. In other words, nature provides a method in which it's able to live with each other in a way that it's more generational. If I give examples of, say, the way plants live with animals is that we breathe in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. We find that plants then take carbon dioxide and then release oxygen. So we are related in a way in which we use positively the products of each other. On that same note, we also find that the relationship where other waste products or when we die, both plants and animals, we have many other organisms that use the body parts to recirculate them back into nature, which some other organisms tend to use. So nature itself is so relational. It's so adaptive to live seamlessly with each other. This is what I see very well put here. The other philosophies that it would include what egalitarianism, oligarchy, socialism, and democracy are also well put in here. But I want to believe that this gives a very nice relationship between human beings and other human beings, and of course, human being and what has been provided for us.
Have we lost you?
Dr. Yombe, we can't hear you. I think the system has gone.
Brother Pigeon, are you there as well?
Yes, Sister Ida, can't you hear me?
Oh, I can now that you said that. I couldn't hear you for a minute.
No, I was saying that we lost Brother Dr. Yombe. Dr. Yombe, can you hear us?
Yeah, and now I think I'm back. I think it was my network.
Okay. Kindly finish whatever you are saying.
I was just trying to maybe expand a little by indicating how the whole paragraph talking about democracy, when you understand democracy, where we say and think, yet we don't practice, that the power belongs to the people. And when somebody has been chosen, we find that really that democracy doesn't exist. Once people get to power, then they take that power from the people and they use it. So it's just a definition where power is said to belong to the people. But once we get to practice, we then don't see democracy actually working. So that would be my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just a question a bit in line to what you're saying on democracy.
Yes.
And there's a section that talk about socialism. It is necessary to affirm a convertible involvement of each in all. How could you see that socialism in form of democracy, in practical democracy, could apply vis-a-vis this current democracy, which is a mere egalitarianism?
Yeah, you find democracy is very well put to be something that if can be practiced the way its definition is, then it's good. But in most of the time, it's never practiced. Once the power comes from the people to a particular person, then that person becomes everything. He forgets about the people that brought them into power. But then socialism here, sorry, is more what our forefathers had, where there was a lot of belonging and there was a lot of relationships where people are seen to be equal or people are treated equally, and that the less fortunate who probably were also there are hyped up or are improved so that they will get to the same levels where others are. So this the practice of making people to be very equal, though there were also classes, but socialism here enhances everyone being allowed to be available or be visible within the community. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will wish to ask you the last part, but let me just ask you that. The last part talk about oligarchic society converted or transformed into a democratic one. And the type, like probably the type of democracy you have is an oligarchic system that is being transformed into a democratic one. And there's this aspect of now transforming a democratic into a socialist society. How do you find those differences in your own thinking?
Yeah, it gets into the first points that are raised, where we nicely define what democracy is. But then when it comes to its practice, it becomes something totally different. It becomes where the person who has been passed power to does not respect the people who provided the power at the beginning. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Where are you joining us from? This is your colonial territory, South Africa.
I'm from Kenya.
Oh, karibu sana ndugu. We have Carrington here from Kenya, but in abroad. And I'm also here from Kenya, so welcome.
I know you from some sides here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. Let's get to Comrade Gezengi. Can you also feel free to share your thinking and also to unmute yourself, maybe to introduce yourself, where you're joining us from, and share your thinking in regards to this text. What you share is our thoughts, because we believe that everybody has the ability to think, and in the process of sharing our thoughts, we're able to build each other and become more conscious. So, Comrade Gezengi.
Good evening, and thank you, Comrade Chair. My name is Genghis Mkilana. As you know, I'm joining for the very, very first time. So I'm familiarizing myself with the group and how it works. So I will not have much to say today, but I'm really motivated and encouraged by the conversations that are going on in the group. So if you don't mind, can I share my thoughts the next time around?
I'm sure you'll be provoked to share your thoughts again.
I'm from South Africa. I'm from South
Africa.
Africa.
Okay, thank you. From South Africa?
Yes.
Yeah, we have Elder Sam here from South Africa. We have Elder Ras Spala Jeranak here from South Africa. And you've been having more comrades joining us from South Africa. So feel most welcome, comrade. And I'm sure you'll be able to be provoked to share your thoughts or your thinking as we move along, because this is a very interactive session. And just feel free, in case you see any text that you want to comment on, because most of the text provided here are more of things we can relate to. So feel free anytime to let me know so that I can allow you to share your thinking. Is that okay, comrade?
Thank you. That's okay, comrade. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Brother Carrington, you're still lined up? I believe so.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, karibu sana.
Asante.
Karibu sana. So you can share your thinking with us, brother.
Okay, thank you very much.
I know this is now becoming political.
Yes, it is becoming a bit political. Yes.
It's not physical, but I know physics, with your understanding as a physicist, you can be able to explain politics from physicist angle, and that will work out good for us. So,
I'll try my best. Now, this is getting out of my specialty, but I will also try my best. And more importantly, I need to learn. I need to learn from more instinctive political theorists like you and others in the group and philosophers. So it is also very important that I continue learning. Yeah. So
give us the physics of the politics.
or the science of the politics, the political science, eh?
Political science. But hey, why is it called political science?
The hope was that there was going to be a possibility in which we could rationalize politics. We could use the scientific method to understand the behavior of politics, which is basically put it under rational deduction, and then after that test our theories as to what is happening in this political system to see the strength and weaknesses. Of course, now political science has evolved from that way of thinking. You can call that a scientific way of thinking. It has become something more sophisticated. And if there are any political scientists in the group, please feel free to correct me. But that is my understanding.
Brother Carrington.
Yes.
So it means politics defeated scientists.
Yes.
Politics. Okay.
There's usually this joke that physics has become too complicated for physicists. So similarly, political science became too complicated for scientists. It cannot be distilled into equations or into data. Although these are part of the tools that you can use to analyze political science, they're not the only things you need to have to understand politics, essentially.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, as a president, our party president, I wish to use data or science to drive my policies and manifestos.
Yes.
Which basically, I've realized the biggest challenge is that politics is driven by emotions, which is not scientific.
Yes. Yes.
But there's a need for us to drive politics and political agenda based on data. So, for example, if you want to say that I want to construct maybe 1,000 kilometers of road when you get me president, the question will be how much I should quantify. How much is 10,000 kilometers of road going to cost? Where am I going to get the money? And how much is the total kilometer available? And can I break that figure down, what you call in the deductionism? Can I be able to deduce that figure to break it down so that I can show various parts of this? But you see, basically, as you've said, all this has been lacking. And therefore, political manifestos are political aspirations and principles and other policies are become propagandas. So they're only there to sway the mood of the people. And people have also not become scientific enough to make political decisions, which I think is what called now in people say civic education, which I think should not even more civic education. It should be scientific education of impact of politics in terms of mathematics. What are you losing versus what are you gaining by making this political choice and so on? But kindly feel free to share your thoughts in this paragraph, Brother Carrington.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, Brother PJ, that there is a role for science and rationality in our politics. In fact, the major problem of Africa is not our dictators. It is not our corrupt politicians. The major problem it's not even, I believe, I hold this, it's not even Europeans. The major problem of Africans is the African. So the African needs to liberate themselves from their stomach. Once you liberate yourself from your stomach, you cannot spread propaganda on behalf of President Ruto on Twitter or on Facebook. Once you liberate yourself from your stomach, you cannot tolerate poor leadership. So your biggest dictator is not Museveni, if I may use him. Your biggest dictator is your stomach. Anyway, let us go to, sorry, yes.
I'm interested in that. How do you liberate your stomach?
That I don't know. Let the thinkers in the group, but the effect will become very clear. Once you put your stomach under the control of your mind, what you're talking about, rationalism and a bit of science, using your head rather than your stomach to vote, the effect will become clear, even if not in society, just in yourself. How you think. You'll stop thinking, as I would say, like a slave, that you are thinking using Ruto. How can I be connected to Ruto so that I escape my problems? You'll stop thinking that way. You'll start using your brain to, quote unquote, escape your problems. You'll stop thinking like a slave, essentially. Yeah.
Okay, proceed with the text.
And enough campaigning. Let's do philosophy for a bit. So, Anaxagoras, as we read in the paragraph before, is talking about seeds of the universe. These seeds of the universe are put together dynamically under a regulating force called the intellect or the intelligence, and combined together to give rise to the different social phenomena we see. That was the essence of the last paragraph, if I remember correctly. Now, the SOCIALISm is trying very importantly to show that this form of egalitarianism advanced by Anaxagoras is even more radical. And I would like to explain why I think it is radical. So the idea is that if different seeds combine to build one social phenomena, and then they're combined differently to build a different social phenomena, then it implies that there's a bit of an object in another object, i.e., there's a bit of water in the human body, i.e., there's a bit of mchanga, soil, in the human body. And it also means that there's a bit of me in you and a bit of you in me. This is what Africans like going on and on about, Ubuntu, right? So this is not a very weird idea, right? This is not totally foreign, totally weird to African philosophy. Now, what then does this imply? If there's a bit of me and a bit of in you and a bit of you in me, when we combine and build society, we have essentially built an organism. Just like when different parts of the body, different organs of the body combine, they build us. And although the liver looks radically different from the heart, which looks radically different from the mind, all these things have a role, have a specific role to play, and therefore require specific resources to play their role, hence your stomach needing food. And if we do not assign these specific roles and resources to these specific organs, the organism will collapse. And that is the problem, that is the paradox of the oligarchy. The oligarchy takes the entire food from the stomach and gives it to the heart or to the brain, thinking that those are the most important organs. The most important organs of a society are the aristocracy and the monarchy. What this does is that it strangles resources from other very important organs of the society, the workers, the soldiers, etc., the teachers, the doctors. And what this then does is that it causes collapse of the system. What SOCIALISm is pushing for is more radical forms, both these philosophies, the philosophy of quote-unquote true democracy and the philosophy of socialism. Socialism is a stronger form of democracy, push societies to assign resources to all organs of society so that society can function. It's just as simple as that. You need to give resources to all organs of society so that society can function. Why? Again, we come from the same thing and we are combined, just like the seeds that have been combined to create us, we are then combined to create this superorganism we call society, nation, state, continent, the planet. And therefore, it makes sense to assign resources and to expect roles similarly. Hence, egalitarianism. Thank you very much.
You make it sound simple, but I have a question.
Isn't he just, huh?
Sister,
Yes, I am totally amazed. I am totally amazed because, of course, it makes sense when you put it that way. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
I wanted to ask him something, but let me ask one. Is there's this sentence starting by saying, whereas in democracy, it is sufficient to affirm a mere egalitarianism. In a clear distinction, can you differentiate this sentence with or vis-a-vis this one in socialism, which says it is necessary to affirm convertible involvement of each in all?
I would use the example of junk food, and I'm sorry for anyone who likes junk food. I really like junk food. I'm just trying to control my diet, and real food. Now, what does the body do when it gets junk food? High energy, high fat food. It basically digests it and stores it, right? So, such that a lot of energy in your body is concentrated around the heart. A lot of energy is concentrated around your waist, around your stomach, around your gut area. And this energy is not serving a role. Although in the case where you're eating junk food, really some energy is digested and put to the liver and the heart, and things function roughly well. But over time, over a period of 20, 30 years, what will happen if you keep eating junk food and doing no exercise, etc., it will begin to show. Your body will become strained. But when you're eating nutritious food and doing exercises, the body is somehow aware and apportions energy appropriately. For example, for proteins, starch, for your greens, your vitamins, etc. It apportions this energy appropriately. And over time, someone who is eating junk and someone who is eating healthy food, the body is able to apportion. You will see the differences in how the resources are apportioned. Now, a democracy, a capitalistic democracy, especially let's call it a financial capitalistic democracy, has this problem of looking good in the short term, but long term leading to instability. This is independent of where you're thinking of. The United States, Kenya, United Kingdom, this is independent of the country you're looking for, because a lot of fat is apportioned to the quote unquote aristocratic class, the connected class, and still there will be problems, just like an oligarchic system. But a socialist system that is functioning properly, or a social democracy, would apportion these resources much more wisely. Yeah, roughly.
So basically, that then bring me to this. So do we need, for Africa, do we need a democracy, or we need a socialist democracy, what we call social democracy? Because I know we feel also in theories and principles of some political party. I think even my political party is a social democrat. I call them social democrats.
Yes.
Now, people have been saying democracy has failed, it's not working in Africa. Is it really true that the current democracy as it's just a mere egalitarianism, and therefore Africa, if it has to practice democracy, it has to practice a socialist democracy?
That is not a question, that is an answer. Yes.
Now, how will practically that socialist democracy look like? Because you see, for example, in the current democracy, as it is being said, they say that the majority rule. Majority rule.
Yes.
But really, as you're saying, do really the majority the one rule?
No.
As you're saying, is that class, the oligarchs, the monarch class, or the so-called dynasty, or the rich class that rule? Does it mean that in the society is the rich that are majority? Or this majority in democracy, what does it mean?
The political class, and this again is not just specific to Africa. You can, if you watch American politics long enough, British politics long enough, you can intuit these things. The political class rules by basically bribing the majority and expecting the majority to just relax and be silent. And this is more explicit, open in Kenyan democracy. So Kenya, yes, if members of a constituency in Kenya decide that they are completely exhausted with their MP and their member of parliament has to go home at whatever cost, that member of parliament does go home. So there's an element of democracy. But most members of parliament, by bribing, coaxing, etc., using underhand tactics, using their wealth, using their connections, are able to rule. So it's basically the oligarchy bribing the majority to rule the majority, and hence the problem of stomach liberation.
Okay, finally, how will then this socialism be in practice as say that socialism affirm a convertible involvement of each in all? How will be each in all be involved in political process in this current democracy to affirm this socialist society? Practically in the politics, how could you see it coming out?
I don't know. But do you see the way a liver does not need to be reminded that its job is to clean the bloodstream? I would think that a social democracy would work in a situation where teachers, doctors, drivers, policemen, army, everybody is aware of their constitutional and social roles, and therefore assertive. If people become assertive of their constitutional and social roles, then the political class will have to be cut down to size. So the problem really here is that organs of society, in my opinion, do not understand their very critical role in society, and power and wealth is concentrating on a single organ, the political class, the oligarchic class. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's move from the younger to the older. Elder Sam, kindly weigh in what Brother Carrington has also been sharing his thinking. Elder Sam, you've been in politics in South Africa for the longest time possible. How could you apply this political system of democracy to socialism? You've seen apartheid within all this line. What could you say with the wisdom and the experience you've gathered in regards to the text? Thank you very much, Brother Carrington.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Brother Carrington. I think you make it to be so easy to follow, and you break it down very easy with the common things that we know, food, stomach, and so forth. I think this is a good experience for me. But brother or members, I just want to bring this thing lively in my own situation. You know, in South Africa, we've got the oldest liberation movement in Africa, the African National Congress. And if you take that aspect only, it means it's experience, it means it is almost everything. But that's why I like this approach that the philosopher here is bringing out for us. You know, it is very important to understand whatever situation you are involved in. The African National Congress, having had the whole experience of experiencing revolutions, the Ghanaian Revolution, the Ethiopian Revolution, all over Africa, the African National Congress should have been the party that brings exactly what the philosopher is saying here, where the society is democratic, where the society is equal, where the society is socialist and Africanist and Pan-Africanist in outlook. But that's why the philosopher is making us aware that we need to understand what we are involved in. This is not the case in South Africa. With all the wealth that the country has, with all the political history that I'm talking about, we are the most unequal society in the world, in South Africa. So I think for me, this is a critical aspect that all of us who are purporting to be revolutionaries, we need to know, and that is where it goes to that convertible. We need to convert, you know what they call class suicide? We need all of us, whether you are a worker, whether you are a means or owner of the means of production, whether you are what, we all need to make class suicide and move towards a situation where every one of us is as important as he says. My toe on my foot is part of my whole body, as equal as the hair on my head. And this is how we should, you know. If you go to the biblical studies, they say we are the body of Christ. Every one of these people share a most important aspect of that functioning of that state. And this is where we need to center ourselves. Thanks.
From your own experience, as you respectfully note this, is that what you're saying of us doing class suicide to be all equal. Look at it in South Africa, just the same context where you are. How or what do you think should be done or can be done to make all people in South Africa equals, bearing in mind that the resources of South Africa are almost 70 to 80% in the hands of the still whites, the so-called Boers or the brothers there, and the majority, as I've said, the majority of South Africans are actually the minority in a so-called democratic society. They're majority in numbers, but they don't constitute majority in leadership or in decision-making as constituted in the so-called democratic principle. And even if they are many in parliament, do that also constitute what you call financial liberation? We then speak to what Brother Carrington was saying, the filling of the stomach. The stomachs of South Africans, I don't think, are still filled, despite of them either being majority, some maybe in even parliament or even in the states. The means of production are still not in their hands. How can that equality in society be attained?
I think, Chair, without trying to waste time for everybody, I think it starts from the beginning, where people say we are fighting for freedom, we are fighting for liberation. All people involved in that struggle need to be in equal par in understanding what that really means. You know, that's why the philosopher here tries to show us that democracy, as democracy, it's not sufficient. Democracy for who? Because this is exactly what we are suffering now. It's democracy for the people who have the means of production. And this is where our situation, not only in South Africa, I think in most of our countries in the continent, this is what happened. We went for what we call liberation, which was only political liberation, also not even total political liberation. But we left the economy totally outside the sphere of our power and that thing. And this is where the challenge is. The leaders were up front. The leaders were ahead of the masses. The masses were left behind, and the masses can only follow what the leaders are putting on it. This is where the challenge that we need to do. We need to do this, what we are doing now. We should broaden up to each and every corner of our societies, where everybody develops and understand exactly what the aim and objectives of whatever we're involved in. And that is a challenge, because there's always not probability that everybody can develop equally. But we need to have the majority of our people understanding what revolution is, what freedom means, and what equality and socialism and the rest of all these theories are, so that we can all strive for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, as Nkrumah stated, that the revolution is the prescribe of the masses. Until the masses take on the revolution, the masses must be the guardian and the protectors of the revolution. For the revolution is for the masses. But here is a situation which is not okay or true for us. Welcome, Brother Bongani. We are actually going on with our reading and sharing our thoughts in the paragraphs highlighted. And this is what we do every time we meet. We read the only paragraph highlighted here, and we ask members to share their thinking. So feel free to take time and share your thinking as well. I think Brother Bongani has also dropped off. Maybe more members should be coming or dropping off. In case they have any challenge, I think that's okay. So let's move from South Africa to Uganda. Sister Mayra, share your thinking in regards to this text. I know you read it, but also if you can have practical application in what's going home or what you have been experiencing in Uganda, whether this text speak to reality of what's going on there, and anything you feel like. Welcome, sister.
So I think my thoughts have kind of been touched on by previous speakers. In the line where he says, a theory of the participation of any one kind of object in every other kind of object I relate that back to the previous paragraph about the seeds, where it's a collection of seeds that constitutes the universe, and then the seeds in different quantities create different objects. And like Brother Carrington said, the thinking of every other object being in every other object is not foreign to African thinking. And he mentioned Ubuntu. So I feel like this would be the ideal movement, because we've had democracy, so-called colonial democracy on the continent, which has been hijacked by people that represent neocolonial interests to serve themselves. So we definitely, our democracy is not egalitarian at all. There's usually a small group of people that controls all the resources, that control the people. So I think we are somewhere from transforming into socialist societies. But you asked one of the previous speakers that what does he think can be done in his colonial territory? And I think it was Nyerere that said in one of his books, I can't remember which, that by nature, our African thinking and our being is socialist. We're communal. But he said that before we even think about institutes and governments that are socialist, we need to think in our minds, to change the way we think. We need to think socialist so that we see each other in each other. And then I think once we start from ourselves, then perhaps whatever solutions we come up to or we come up with to our current predicament will be truly for everyone, and not just the rich or the few that have power. I think that's all I have to say on this paragraph.
Okay, thank you, Sister Mara. I'll make some follow-up questions in the practical aspect of it. I think the first quote you mentioned is in Nkrumah part of it. Either Nyerere copied it from Nkrumah, when Nkrumah says that the nature of Africans is basically a socialist nature. We are all socialists by nature. And I think now, actually, Nyerere also affirmed to it as we move forward. But my key interest will be here, Sister Myra. Look at the context of even, I think in Uganda, there might be no too much of tribal politics, so-called nationality politics. But I think in Uganda, it has even advanced to church politics. Whether you are, I don't know, Adventist or whatever religion, something like that. Unlike in Kenya, which is too much of tribal politics, even though of late there has been, like if you check the present 2022, Proto managed to move people beyond politics of tribe into so-called the class politics. So whereby the poor society came together to fight against the so-called the rich class. But even that formula, as I think Brother Carrington has listed here, may not be practical enough, because in a true socialist democrat society, in egalitarian society, all should be equal. It should not be the war between the poor versus the rich. Or even in this context of the Gen Z, the young versus the old. But rather, everybody should be considered as equal in a society. And rather to now, if you move beyond that level of labeling of class struggle or ageism, then our politics will move purely on the welfare aspect and no longer on the labels of a tribe, a religion, age, or even a class. Now, in Ugandan context, how do you find whether the practicability of the rule, because you see the democratic principle says that the majority rules, and you see this what this text says, that democracy is a mere egalitarianism. Is it true that it's really a mere egalitarianism in Uganda? And if it is so, how do you see in Ugandan context where socialism can be applied in the involvement of each in all?
Okay, so I think there are certain societies like my colonial territory where it's a very unique situation where I can't even use the word egalitarianism, certainly not. But the way that society has turned out to be organized is the power is very much held by a very, very small minority. And even then, within that small minority, the power emanates from one person. So I don't know what kind of society that is. Is that extreme oligarchic? Yes. So I cannot tell you what somersaults the society has to go through to come from that situation to a socialist situation, aside from maybe some kind of revolution, which would perhaps bring about some kind of categorical conversion. But at the moment, I would not say that there's any movement towards socialism. In fact, I think the small group that has power is trying all it can to even tighten their hold on power. So yes, I think that's what I can say about the situation there.
Okay, thank you. So more from Sister Mara will be going to Sister Ida. She can give us a perspective regards to Ghana or even in UK in perspective to the practicability of this text. But I think the big question in our mind should be, how do we transform a democratic society or a democratic one into a socialist society? Because basically, I think this struggle has been always there. Some people don't believe that a socialism can work for Africa. While they say it works for China, some people speak of capitalism working, and then they say capitalism, and at the same time they support democracy. And we say, yes, democracy is good, but capitalism is also a mere democracy in, in a mere form. So how do you move totally from a democratic society into a socialist society? I think that is the big thinking we should be having. And maybe before we come to an end, maybe somebody can think about what do you think should be applied to us to attain that. But back to you, Sister Ida. Sister Ida, you had Brother Carrington's presentation, which I think you said he made it very simple. Even though it's not that simple, he made it very simple to you. How do you, what's your thinking in regards to the text first, before you share your practical thinking?
Well, first and foremost, I have to thank everybody who has spoken, because my eyes were opened on each thing that each brother or sister said. And it was like, oh, whoa, where did they get that from? And oh, wow, fantastic. And then you come to me and I think, well, I have to start with, I like, oh, you want me to share the text first? Can I share what I remember of what the brothers and sisters said, which is, I like that now Sister Myra is actually labeling our countries as colonial territories. I like that very much. She said it so many times, and yet it's been like, yeah. And then the more you think about it, the more you realize, yes, they really still are colonial territories in the neo-colonial sense. And I just like everything that everybody has said. But if I were to go back to this, to what we read, I'm now not totally confused, because I see different bits of what you're all saying. And to me, when I first read it, or when I first heard it read, I just thought, oh, he's just telling us the difference between egalitarianism was the word I first latched onto, thinking, what is he saying with that word? And then the more I sort of read, the more I thought, oh, he's telling us the distinctions between democracy, socialism, and the ideal of everybody being equal, was what I thought from what was read. Because democracy, what can you say about democracy? It's like, really, it's for the few, even though a lot may say they're part of it. But when you really look deeply, are they really part of it? Either they need to have managed to have latched on via, they earn a lot, or there's money involved and they're part of that money system, or else, you know, they're out of it. They're out of the system, even though they might belong to, still belong to colonial territories, which are linked to the West that has money. Yet, if you haven't got the money in those territories, you know, you might as you're just clinging on by your fingernails, sort of thing. Socialism. Well, we've seen socialism tried, and it is more people, in a way, slightly benefit from it. But if it's tested between socialism and democracy within their territory, half the time socialism just gets chopped off at the knees, and you're back to being swimming to get money and be within that democratic state, which you're right at the bottom of. So well, I don't know. It says right at the end, he sought to transform democracy, democracy into a socialist system. But I'm really not sure if that's it can be achieved as we are at the moment. Hello, brother Kwame. Trust you to come in on what I'm saying, because do I know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I think that he's testing us to find out what we think. And I love what I've heard today about what others think. Because, yeah, we're all one body, but do we treat all the organs of our body with respect, is what I would say. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome, Brother Kwame. Let me just get back to Brother Carrington a bit. Brother Carrington.
Yeah, thank you.
Brother Carrington?
Yes.
Now, look at the first statement in this paragraph, and especially when this come in that in the theory of Anaxagoras, his theory of unity of nature is in certain respect a more rigorous and close one than that of the monist. Can you maybe,
Yes.
if you can remember, maybe share your thinking on this, and maybe to bring back to our attention, if you can remember what this theory of monist is and how maybe Anaxagoras theory become a bit more rigorous, please.
The way I understand it is that a monist believes that fundamentally everything in the universe and the universe itself comes from a single element that has been differentiated into different things. Okay, so basically at base, everything is water. At base, everything is some form of energy. I've forgotten whether that one was Heraclitus or somebody. Anaxagoras is saying that there are basic seeds, call them atoms, call them whatever, but there are basic seeds that of the universe that are combined in different proportions dynamically to create different objects. This is different because it's not a thing differentiating to create different things. It's basic elements of the universe combining to create different objects in the universe. And what this means is that really, in every object of the universe, there is a proportion of different seeds that are used to create different objects. And therefore, this implies that there is a bit of me in the lake, i.e. water, and there's a bit of the lake in me, essentially. And therefore, this form of egalitarianism is much more radical than the idea of a differentiated basic element of the universe. Yeah.
Thank you. Brother Kwame.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yes.
Let me get to Brother Raspal, and then I'll get back to you, because Brother Raspal is the last person to share his thinking.
Okay, thank you.
So take time a bit also to to go through the text. Brother Raspala. Brother Raspala? Or General Anunnaki? Are you here, comrade? Okay. He is not probably around. So, Brother Kwame, can you come in? We've been trying to share our thinking in this. Many of us have shared their thinking or their thoughts in this. And yeah, we are here to hear also your thinking in this. Yeah, kindly unmute yourself and speak, Brother Kwame.
And don't forget yourself, Brother Pigeon.
Oh.
Yeah. So Pigeon, maybe you should share, then I will come in.
Yeah, always when you share, you end up forgetting yourself. It's like in the family. The mother will share the whole food, forgetting that she hasn't eaten. Then it will be like, okay. Anyway, basically, it has been my type of leadership. I always like to go last than fast. But I know there are also people who believe that leaders should go fast than last. So if there's any danger, the leader should test it to ensure the safety of their followers. But I'm that kind of, okay, if there's anything available, let the people have it first. I'll come last. If it's available or not available, yeah, I'll take whatever will be there last. But yes, I've been actually impressed with some of the thinking here. But I really want to share some few things and my thoughts here. The second sentence, apart from the what Brother Carrington says, that he did not affirm a mere identity of basic makeup. So he went further to confirm what Brother Carrington has been saying. They mean you and you in me. But he put forward a theory of the participation of one kind of object in every other kind of object. So I think that's what Brother Carrington said, that we come and make one object, and then one object make a bigger object. So as we move like a society is a makeup of various people. A society is a makeup of either mothers and fathers who come together to make up kids, and kids who come back together to become parents again and make up somebody else. A society is made up of either the poor or the low class in a society that either get money and become rich, and that order. So therefore, if you see a society as a makeup of that oneness, or that in every aspect of the society, there's aspect of all elements of society. For example, in the aspect of a child, there's an element of a mother and a father in that. So we make up that some kind of object. But I also want to share this other third way, say that in his philosophy, nature was more firmly united than in any other philosophy. Indeed, if we look at all that in terms of anatomy or anybody that makes a society, leave alone even you call them the rich, the young, the poor, and the old, they're all unity, or they're all united in one aspect or the other. Either they share something together, or either they share some elements together. And that's why we are not animals. Some people, they say we are human beings. There's something we share in commonality. And people tend to bring this aspect of differences in terms of age, class, or anything else, forgetting the underpinning issue that we are all somehow united and you're one. And this takes us back to our origin of what we are. We all come from the same matter. So irrespective of the gender, irrespective of the skin pigmentation, irrespective of the age, we are all from the same matter. And that then should provide us the aspect of egalitarianism. We should all be equal, irrespective of anything else. But the society, of course, put measures in terms of laws. Like when we discussed at that time of age of voting, society will come with restrictions and then start to differentiate us. Society will come with laws and then try to make the you agenda or gender affirmative action and anything else, forgetting that irrespective of what it takes in our biological scientific setup or in our DNA, we are all equal biologically. Now, other thing I would like to check is on the last part where it says that given social expression, there is a distinction between socialism and democracy. And I know we've shared this a bit, but let me get to the other part where I want to share my thinking in the other sentence. They say that whereas in democracy, it is sufficient to affirm a mere egalitarianism. A mere, which means it's just a mere impartiality. While in socialism, it's necessary to affirm a convertible involvement of each in one. You must clearly demonstrate how we form up that decision if it's in governance. How do we, all of us, constituted? If you talk about our votes counting, did it really count? How did we constitute that decision? When the president makes a decision maybe to go borrow or do anything else, how can he clearly demonstrate that we all were involved in that? While here, in democracy, it's a mere affirmation. But in democracy, it's like the animal farm, where all animals are equal, but others are more equal than others. And that is actually what is getting interesting here. And I think now it's true, actually, that we've been having a mere affirmation of democracy. Because look at, for example, when they say in our voting system or the process we do election to get leaders in this country, in a democratic concept, as all of us or some of us have said here, they say that the majority win, or it's the majority that rule. But surely, how do the majority rule or the majority decide in a democratic election while whoever is elected is not from the majority group? Even if you talk about in a tribal community, you say like in Kenya here where our politics have been more tribal, and people will say because the Kikuyu community and the Kalenjin community have been the majority in this Kenya, and that's why they have ruled for 64 years. But even those who come to be elected from those communities are not the majority in the society. They're not the majority poor, they're not the majority ordinary people, they're not the majority youth who are majority in a country, but rather they're a small group of people. Therefore, this so-called democracy is just a mere affirmation of egalitarianism, which in reality is the rule of the minority over the majority. And that can be seen as more of dictatorship than democracy. And then I like this aspect of socialism now involving all, each in all. I don't know how this can happen actually. How can we practically put this socialism into practical action in terms of a society or in governance or in leadership? Because society creates structures, and these structures create divisions or what you call discriminations. And then, like, for example, even if you look at our early stages of Council of Elders, the chief and the kings, they'll have some category that you must be a wealthy person or have a number of cows to be whoever for you to be in the council of whatever the elders. In fact, the name was Council of Elders, which means you have to be an elder to be a council. The majority of people are still being left out. And you realize those elders were not minority, they were not majority in a society. Elders form a group of small minority in a society. Was even that now considered as a democracy? And how this can actually total up into socialism is something that I'm still wondering if somebody will help me answer that. But then in the last part where I was to share my thinking in the last paragraph, last sentence, that in other words, whereas the monist in social terms sought to transform oligarch society into democratic one. And I think that's what basically we've been trying to do. A society where the minority who have resources, who are either old, who are either whatever gender, either male or whatever, have been ruling over. We've been trying to make it or pacify it to look like a democratic society. And reality is that it has not been since independence of many countries in Africa. It's still been these oligarchs, because these are the people who have the means of so-called the political money to move around and the muscles. These are the people who still control the means of production, if it's in terms of some genders, because even the means of production have not been equally divided or shared across the continent so that all genders can have equal access or equal resource control. But we realize that one gender is over controlling resources than other gender. We realize that one class of so-called those who have money control that money over other people. And therefore, it's truly that we've been trying to massage it or make it look like a democratic aspect, but we've been putting this aspect of oligarchy into a democratic society. And what I was actually asking myself is the last part, that Anaxagoras sought to transform a democratic one into a socialist society. And I don't know that socialist society is either so-called unity of nature. And I don't know how that can actually be attained in Africa. But I wish actually if you have more of a socialist society. Thank you. That's my thinking. Brother Kwame.
Yes. So thank you for your thinking. I think what I've heard so far has dealt with the paragraph. So I don't think I should add any more than you have, because I heard Sister Ida slightly, I heard brother Carrington, and I've heard you, Pigeon. So I haven't heard Sam or Dr. Hayumbe Sibu or Sister Myra, but I'm sure they all shared their thinking, and Sister Grace. So I think you've shared enough on it, and you've also applied it to Africa. So I think we can move on to the next paragraph.
Brother Kwame.
Yes.
Please just share your thinking. As much as you share much, even one sentence of your thinking will really help us a bit. So just feel free to share even a sentence of your thinking.
Yeah, but what you have shared shows that this paragraph is well understood.
Okay.
So
you say so well.
It's well understood, because when you say that the universe is fundamentally composed of seeds, and you say that the universe is composed of water, if you say the universe is composed of water, like Thales did, it's as a form of monism, yes. But when you say that the universe is composed of water and mind, where the mind, if you like, is responsible for how the seeds are evolving, then you are not just a monist, are you? You are also, in a way, a dualist, because you are saying that the universe is fundamentally can be seen as two things. Because I didn't hear what Brother Carrington shared, but I think Brother Carrington will agree with me that the Anaxagoras in our last discussion did not tell us where his seeds came from or where the mind came from. It doesn't tell us whether or not the mind gave birth to the seeds or the seeds gave birth to the mind. That is not very clear. What is clear, however, is that he sees the mind and the seeds as, if you like, together as part of nature, and that is dualism. So we might say that it's a form of monism, in the sense that it's monism in the sense that he's saying that everything is coming from seeds, but at the same time, because he posits the mind, nous, N-O-U-S, he's also saying that there is another element in nature, which is mind. So in that sense, one could say that actually Anaxagoras is a dualist. And if Anaxagoras is a dualist, then we are comfortable with him.
Yeah.
We are comfortable.
I wanted to ask you that, Brother Kwame.
Sorry?
Just in that line. I wanted to ask you that in that line, because there's something that has come back to my mind. When you started the consciousness, actually some times back, the consciousness was assuming the center position, recognizing the existence of both.
Yes.
Can that be the dualism here?
Yes. Yes, you could say yes. In that sense, therefore, we are comfortable with him, because the position of consciousness is not that spirit doesn't exist. We don't dispute the existence of spirit. We don't dispute the existence of ghosts. We don't dispute the existence of extraterrestrial beings. So for example, we know our brother Anunnaki, General Anunnaki, brother Spala. As you know, he's amongst us. He is the one that has looked deepest into the Malian thing. You know, the Dogon people of Mali. He's looked very deeply into that, and you recall that from time to time he shares with us. And one of the things Brother Spala shared with us, if you recall, was that we came from a different planet and came here, that we didn't originate from Earth. You know, I mean, I don't know whether it's true or false, but that is not the point. The point, whether it's true or false, is not the point. The point is that there is a thinking that that human beings on this earth may have come from a different planet, and so what we see is that what Anaxagoras is saying is it's a dualist position. And so we consensus, and we say that we don't contend, so we will not contend or we will not argue against the Dogon position, because that is possible. We just don't know. We don't have any means of verifying that scientifically. But then there are things that you can't verify, but you believe exists, you know. So there's a consensus position is that fundamentally everything is matter, but out of the matter, so matter is only primary, and out of the matter emerges other things through categorical conversion. What is interesting about Anaxagoras is for me the meaning of what he is saying, what he's saying means in my language, and we looked at this slightly the last time. The word for seed, and I asked you, brother Pigeon, the last time, what is the word for seed in Swahili? The word for seed in my language is same as death. Ku is a word for seed. Ku is a word for seed. It's also the word for death. So that philosophically, we believe that out of death, out of dying comes life. You can't have life without dying. You can't have dying without life. You see. So what he is saying here in terms of the word seed as a source of everything will seem to me, if I was interpreting this in my language, will seem to be that he's saying that ku, what is seed, is the source of everything, which means that at the heart of everything is death, and at the heart of everything is life. In other words, life and death are two sides of the same thing. So let us not worry because we will die, because actually we will not die, we will live. If you die, you live. If you are alive, you are dead. If you know what I mean. Anyway, okay. Yes, Brother Pigeon.
So permit me then, with your permission, and if nobody else, because I've gone round, Brother Anunnaki is the only one who didn't share his thinking. I think Brother Glory is joining now, Brother Glory. And if
I've shared Brother Anunnaki's for him. Yeah, so it's
okay.
fine.
So can I read the next paragraph, then you come in to share the remaining part?
You can unhighlight that and read. Yeah, let's read from Indeed once Anaxagoras had.
Let me first of all read, because that will take me time. Let me highlight in just the same, then I read it. I'll do an highlighting later for the previous paragraph. Now,
it only takes seconds to do that, unless you mean you don't know what to do. Anyway, who read the last time?
It was Sister Myra.
Sister Myra. Sister Myra read, and I missed her reading. So who is reading now? Are you reading, Brother Pigeon?
I wanted to read.
Yeah, all right, carry on reading. Carry on.
Okay. Indeed, once Anaxagoras had emphasized socialist responsibility.
Socialistic, not socialist.
Socialistic responsibility of each for all and all for each. The next step was to emphasize the intrinsic worth of the individual. Thus, a social progressive movement, which started with the superinvention of a people over a class, ended with the separating out the cult of individuals. It was left to the sophist to achieve this. This phase was given its most definitive utterance in the Protagoran statement that man is the measure of all things. The universe had passed from the hands of the gods into the hands of men. This Protagoran view, which was a passionate testimony to the new place of man in the scheme of things, was quickly perverted by lesser minds into a grasping idealistic subjectivism. In this transformed form, it was a claim that reality was a replica of the subjective will. Indeed, it was in this form that Socrates criticized it. It was necessary to destroy this idealistic subjectivism. First, because it was but a short step from it to solipsism. The view that only oneself exists and other things exist as one's experiences. And second, because in addition to damaging the possibility of science and the public and the objective grounding of truth, it undermined the foundations of a society. For it made social reality too dependent upon the subjective will.
Pigeon, yes, we can't. Yeah, go on. That's fine. Thanks.
The original attempt to redeem society by giving it a united foundation, by asserting the unity and brotherhood of man, now promised to destroy the society which it had set out to save. Egalitarianism desperately needed to be distinguished from anarchism. For anarchism is the political expression of subjective idealism. That's the end of the reading.
So there's a lot in there.
I've tried my best to be very slow. I was very fast at the start.
There's a lot in there, and
yeah, a lot.
So we saw earlier how. Yeah. So earlier, so this paragraph is developing the thinking of Anaxagoras, and takes us to the logical conclusion of Anaxagoras' philosophical position. And you can see from the paragraph how it developed. You see, so from everything being seeds, and seeds, which means that if seeds are the basis for everything, it means everything is in everything, because everything is in seeds. So the corn grows from a seed of corn, then it grows, and then it flowers, and then it produces more corn. And then those corns then fall into the ground, into the soil, they die, and then they become the basis of life. And that is the nature of living things. Human beings are no different. The seed of the man is put into the woman. The woman then grows life inside her. Then the life comes into the world. That life lives, and then at some point then also produces life and dies, and so it continues. So life, so that is how life is. So that's the idea of the seed. And then you say the seed, which means that Anaxagoras is saying that there is such a thing as collective responsibility in society. So society should not just be democratic, because a democratic society can be a society in which people don't care for one another. People don't look after one another. I mean, you can argue that the reason that in England they look after, you could make this argument that the reason that in England they have a social security system that takes care of everybody is because they steal those resources from Africa. It's not that they have it; it's because they successfully steal it with the help of the neo-colonial African leaders. Yeah, and so then they have the resources which they then distribute through their social system, so that they can show that they have a responsibility which they discharge through the social security system, right? So there is this collective responsibility, and in democratic societies, you can see that happening, yeah. So, but the point is that you can have democracy, but people will not take care. So the society will not have collective responsibility for everyone. So the reason that Gen Zs were on strike, the reason that the young men, the young soldiers in Mali and so on took power was because they were not cared for. As soldiers, nobody really cared about them. You know, they were paid enough to secure the border, secure the state. You know, but they were not those who were being made wealthy. And so they decided to take political power. The point I'm making is that there was a lack of collective responsibility. So in African communities today, in the African democracies today, we are not taking care of people. We are not taking care of one another. Because of the neo-colonial dimension of our democracy, you know, even the democracy itself, the way it's practiced does not adhere to the democratic principles, the real principles. Government by the people, for the people, and by the people. But that is not what is happening, you see. So you can see in what Anaxagoras is shared in this paragraph. I'm making this comment because of time, but we'll continue this discussion next week and hear everybody's thought on this. But I'm just leading with it. So the next philosophical step, as you can see from the paragraph, was that in that case, if there is collective responsibility society, that means that everybody has individual worth. Okay. Somebody posted something in our WhatsApp group today, which I read, that said that President of Nigeria, Tinubu, the way, I didn't watch the video, but I was just reading the comment. And the comment sought to say that President Tinubu should be a cleaner or a stacker of shelves in a retail store rather than being president. You know, and that kind of language is saying that the storekeeper, the person that fills our shelves, the cleaner that cleans our streets or cleans our homes or cleans our kitchens, the rubbish men or women that take our rubbish, that somehow being president was either higher or better or of value or of worth than them. But in a democracy, that is not correct. That is in the kind of democracy, as Anaxagoras is saying, that can't be correct. So I shared my thinking, and I said that if Tinubu does not have the qualities to be president, just say that he hasn't, because there are certain qualities you will expect to have in a president. And if that person hasn't got it, just say so. But to then seek to devalorize the president by using other occupations to imply that somehow they are not worthy, I mean, to me, it's not right. You know, the cleaner is just as important as a doctor. Try, if you're a doctor, if I don't know any doctors here, but try doing a surgery in a hospital without a cleaner being there and see whether the surgery can go on properly. You know, try an operation in a hospital where there are no cleaners, and then see if that hospital can even carry on. So the idea that there are occupations that we shouldn't value is just not right. So what am I saying? I'm saying that, and Anaxagoras is saying that everyone has individual worth. You know, that is, if there is collective responsibility between myself and yourself and myself, that means we are both of value. That is what it means. So that is what is saying. Now, if that is the case, then you can see the slippery slope to the nonsense that we have in terms of individualism. First of all, the progression led to the sophists focused on the individual. Because if you are saying that we are all are worthy, have equal worth, then the next step is so that, well, the individual has individual worth. Now you can see where that will lead you. If you are saying that an individual has worth, it is not far from there to say that, well, what is worthy is their thinking, or what is worthy is, if you are religious, is their soul. The soul must be the most important thing. Or, no. How about the spirit? Your spirit is the most important part of you. Oh, no. How about the body? No, not the body. The body, you know, the body is not important. What is important is the soul or the spirit, because that kind of correlates with the mind, the nous, yeah, nous of Anaxagoras. So even the body itself can be devalued, and you don't attend to your body, you don't attend to the body, the human body, where you sleep, where you work, where you live, you know, your surrounding, you know, the environment in which you live, the sewage system, the water, you know, all that can become unimportant, you know. But anyway, you can see the progression there. And then once the individual becomes important, it could be their mind, it could be their spirit, it could be their body, depending on where you are coming from, or it could even be their will. And then we had a situation in the 20th century where we had complete nonsense, like the philosopher called Schopenhauer, which we'll come across later, who magnified the human will and said the only important thing in life is the will. What you will to do is the most important thing, you know. And then from there, you can see we are not far from anarchism. What is anarchism? Anarchism is that you do what you like, I do what I like, we don't need government, we all just you can see where all this is taking us. all we wanted to do was to make it clear, all they wanted to do was to make it clear that the universe is not what the aristocratic priesthood were telling us. You know, that if you want to reign in your if you want to reign in your farm and agriculture, you know, you can irrigate the land. You don't need to wait for rains from the sky. And if you don't need to wait for rains from the sky, you don't need to pray to any god to rain or to cry so the tears can water the land. Just have the scientific tools to irrigate the land, right? So that's where the whole thing started from. And now, by Anaxagoras, can you see where it's leading us? It's leading us to, if you like, Western individualism, if you want to put it that way, you know, where you have in Palestine, means the example of Palestine, you have 40,000 human beings being killed, and nobody cares. Well, not nobody cares. Some people don't care because they then see themselves as of more value than another human being. Therefore, if your skin is dark like mine, and even darker than mine, like the Sudanese African, you know, then somehow your worth is less, and all that kind of nonsense, you know. So the time is 8:53. I want to pause there, but we'll look into this further. We can see the gradual development of this from where we started from Thales to where we are now going to, you know, which is complete anarchism.
Okay. Well, thank you, brother. Yes, indeed, we have some few minutes to the end of our class. But really, the members who didn't share their thinking before, as they said, there were new members in the group, like Comrade Chosa. Comrade Chosa, now that we are coming to an end and you've seen the reading from the past paragraph to this paragraph, do you have something to share with us? Being the first, I think the second time you said to be in the forum. Comrade Chosa?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming up with this idea to study the thoughts of Kwame Nkrumah. From these two paragraphs, I'm starting to, in fact, it's a confirmation of what we have been observing, you know, just from a general point of view, because what is being said there, we see it coming out of the system, the colonial system, what they brought to us. Like, for example, Brother Carrington talked about the stomach. And if you look at it from the other angle, you would see that the people who brought up the system, they understood very well this concept of the stomach. And that's why you find within the system, there's deliberate inducement of anger upon our people. Because if we are to compare before and after they come, you would see that our African societies, based on the settlement system that they had, there was no hunger in that period. Food was everywhere. And I believe that in our own custom, when you visit, it was a taboo to live without eating something. That means there was surplus of food. But anyway, I'm actually very excited about this, and I'm learning. So I will continue to listen and learn more.
Can I just make a comment on what Chosa said? I'm mindful of the time. So we can then extend what you've said in terms of what we've read into what you might call the socialistic. So what you've just explained is what Nkrumah called the socialistic rather than the socialist. The socialistic view of life that the African have, the traditional Africa, not modern Africa, but traditional Africa had a socialistic view, which is the point you are making, that if you come to my house, I don't eat alone. In fact, there's a saying in my language that one person doesn't eat. We eat as a community. We eat as a collective. So that is what you are referring to. And
yes.
So when you come when you come the next week, let's develop this.
Yeah, if I can add something that I've observed also is about Eurocentrism and Afrocentrism. You find that even the communism that we are talking about, we have to differentiate it from Eurocentric communism and Afrocentric communism. If we are to look deeper into ourselves, like what was said, that we are socialists by nature. It's true, by default, there are default settings about Africans. There are things that are not taught, but that are just common in every one of us. So, yeah.
Thank you. Our time is almost up. Thank you very much again, Dr. Ayombe, for also joining us from Kenya. Dr. Ayombe, hope you'll join us again. Dr. Ayombe?
Yes, I'll be here.
Yeah. You can get the link, or you can text me directly so that I can add you to our broadcast list so that you can get updates, because sometimes I might never share them in all the groups that you get them sometimes. So you can just text me, because the link you found is my contact. Text me so that I add you in our broadcast list. We have a broadcast list of around many people, so I can add you there so that you get updates every time and again. So, comrades, thank you very much. Brother Coco, you've come late. They have actually said that democracy is a mere is sufficient to affirm a mere egalitarianism. It's not actually a real thing that's needed, and therefore we need to convert a democratic society into a socialist society. Hope that augur well with your thinking.
I'm sure Brother Coco will have a lot to say about that.
You know me very well. You know me very well. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Sorry that you missed the class before. If you had to join us earlier, but you'll get the recording, and next time we can build up on this. So don't worry.
Thank you all.
Yeah. So, comrades, this is the end of our class for today. This is actually a Thursday class, and it's been going on. I think we've never missed any Thursday for almost the last 3 years, and also it started physically for over the last 10 years. So this can show you how consistent we've been, and we actually share all uploads of our previous classes on our YouTube channel. We've started trying the live streaming for those who might not join Zoom, and you still have it for Saturday classes, and we hope to transfer it also to Thursday live streaming on our YouTube so that you can get us live. But we have like a library of all our recordings in our YouTube channel, which is Socialism Study Group. We have over 135 so far recordings available, both for Thursdays and Saturdays. On Saturdays, we discuss Africa unification. We only have a conversation on Africa unification. And we do this by analyzing current news or upcoming news or anything else in Africa in terms of where are we moving with the unification of Africa. We sometimes get presentations from guest speakers who come in to speak in line to that. And this Saturday, we'll be joined with one professor who will be speaking or joining the conversation on the Africa unification. So I will share the link for that class, and it will take place from 6 p.m. GMT or 7 p.m. London time. And please join us so that we can keep the conversation on the unification of Africa live. Let's discuss this along the corridors of Africa. And I think it's high time we do a physical discussion, both on the ground and in all parts of the continent. People stop talking more of what's going on in their country and their houses, but it's just the Africa welfare, where we're moving and pushing for the unification of Africa. So brothers and sisters in this forum today, permit me to appreciate your presence and thank you very much for your attendance. Let's meet on Saturday, and next Thursday we will continue from here.
Yeah, Brother Pigeon,
yes.
Brother Hayumbe and Chosa have shared their numbers in the chat, yeah?
Yes, I'll pick them.
Excellent.
Yeah,
All right, good night, everyone.
Yeah,
thank you. We'll see you on Saturday.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.